Hello, ladies and gentlemen. For those who don't know my name, I'm Luis Diaz. Some people know me as big game talkers. Others recognize me as a uh, Chicano civil rights activist. And when I say others, um, I mean most of the government agencies in California included, but not limited to the FBI and the California penal system. I would beg to ask you to give me a minute or a few minutes and hear me out uh, on this dire situation, the quarantine and COVID 19, something that has been a great struggle, and I believe I can help with my experiences turn this thing around. Now, for starters, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who attempt to discredit my name, and if you have any questions, I only ask that you look me up in the California subdivisions of the Justice Department, and as I have successfully struggled and fought for the rights of my people for the last 21 years. I have yet to lose a struggle, as they're always for a good cause. I only ask that you don't judge me for being a convicted felon, and I promise that you, the public, have everything to gain from this script, and all I'm trying to do is God's will by helping, my Raza and brothers and sisters and the children of this world. Now I'll go on to explain some things that you may or may not have realized, but it's necessary for me to correlate it to my experiences and for me to give you my recipe for success. Now, the first thing I noticed is that they've shut down most of the mom and pop stores and restaurants, businesses that many families have given their everything to build just to have it taken away by a government who's getting paid regardless of what happens to you or me. The majority of these businesses are owned by minorities or fellow blue collar brethren, having no effect on the small percentage of the higher income bracket. And for the purposes of this brief, I'll call them the one percenters, although I'm pretty sure, it might go a little bit past that. Uh, Next, they have pretty much removed almost the entire generation, if not two, out of the workforce, and have incorporated the use of mostly women and young men who they can entice with overtime, small bonuses, or an adjusted rate. At first glance, this looks great, but we are not realizing that they are actually making the situation worse. What's happening is that they are dangling the carrot in front of our face, but we're never going to have that carrot. What's happening is they're vetting out who they can coerce into being a subservient class, letting those who can't handle the stress die off. Remember, retirement is the leading cause of death, but it also has a very negative impact on the rest of the population, as we're practically being retired forcefully. Uh, After this, the cost of living will continue to raise slowly to the point where there will be less workers. We'll all be higher in debt, and they will be making close to the same amount of money. If we allow it to reach this point, it'll be too late. There will be no turning back. This country will become an authoritarian state, or dictatorship, or communist state, whatever title you please to call it, as the establishment will, in my belief, invoke a draft under the guise of a pending war or an attack, something to that nature. But selling it nice and sweet, like it's the answer to all our prayers. Like, they're going to put money in our pockets. And they're helping us, but in reality, they're not. Um, they'll then most likely establish some kind of mass deployment, leaving our families here at the hands of soldiers who they vetted out for tyranny. If you don't believe me, open up your history books. It's happened time and time again. And if you don't believe that this is, um, if you don't believe that, ask yourself if this is a history you want to be part of. Because if you haven't noticed, we are being told what to do, while the establishment has been slowly testing the waters with things like gun control to see how far they can push us. And this is what's going to happen if we don't take a stand. We're going to be separated from our loved ones, and Um, you know, the working class, the women, the young men who are not strong enough to speak up for themselves are going to be kept here, and we're going to be separated from them, uh, which is going to leave them, open for all kinds of uh, bad decision making, and we'll be lucky if we make it back. Fortunately, I have the experience and knowledge as a Chicano rights activist who has led the way and taken on the state of California uh, in peaceful and a productive manner. Through this, I have been able to earn the trust and respect of uh, all different races, African Americans, others, and whites, who usually follow in my footsteps, for a better tomorrow. Now, full disclosure, I want to make it known that I am an ex-prisoner. I spent 18 years in prison fighting for Chicano rights, but never left anyone else out. Uh, After about my third successful strike, the authorities, including CCR, made an effort to attach my name to the mafia, but with no success. My estranged family rubbed shoulders with the establishment, conservatives, whatever you might want to call them, and since being released, have attempted to offer me money, houses. They even went as far as offering me the county of San Diego uh, at my disposal, uh, pretty much telling me if I would cooperate with them, uh, so they could erase my name and they could proceed and to follow their aspirations you know, of becoming president and whatever may have you. But even through all those years of struggle, I refuse to take anything from them, and I made it my life journey to fight for my people, not to oppress them. And now I see a chance to help everyone. It wasn't until I moved to Chicago that I realized that the government has been following me to every job site, buying each company. I go to the latest technology and paying for overtime bonuses and trying to keep me from realizing the state of our union. And when I say the state of our union, I mean the people, not the establishment. As they know that that's my thing, I like to speak up, and I don't mind taking the lead in difficult situations. Now, I ask that you bear with me as I explain a little bit about the California prison system and how it directly relates to our situation now. Uh, I know this is something that many of you probably are not used to, or you know will shy away from, but if you just take a minute, you'll understand quickly where it's going. So in California, uh, the prison system has called itself a rehabilitation center, but slowly and consistently it removed most the schools and trades from the system. Upon entering the system, we are separated by race, but also placed into a gang category, whether you are or aren't a gang member. So they're doing it by force. Anyone who shows leadership qualities is separated from the rest of the population, usually by the coercion of other inmates and by officers. These inmates, the so-called leadership, are stripped of almost everything they have, except for TV and some colored pencils, and are even isolated from each other, and often sent far away, just a few hours from the Oregon state border, where it was very unlikely many would see their families again. Now, I'm not proclaiming that these guys were innocent or not, but listen on to how the pattern of the California prison system mirrors what we are living in today. Now, after removing those with the leadership qualities, California had further plans to segregate the population, ironically, under the guise of a desegregation policy. That's what they called it. They wanted to segregate anyone who showed resistance to law enforcement. For example, something as petty as a fist fight or the making of wine, uh, and remove them from the most subservient population. The first would be labeled high-risk inmates and would be overseen by vetted tyrant officers who would get paid extra for the label, but are actually being paid to blindly follow the government, and without having to answer to nobody. The later subservient population would be used to work jobs labeled prison industries, or PIA for short. These companies are owned by the aforementioned one percenters. Have I caught your attention yet? It's pretty much what's going on here, where they're vetting out people uh, until they can decide who they want to keep here and who they want to send out. Through years of fighting for my raza, the first thing I learned is that when we move, everyone else follows, and that's how it always been. Next, the government will always attempt to use scare tactics, and at least at the beginning, until I stood fast in their face and I never had to lift a finger against them, and you know, hardly any harm was ever done to me. But the culmination of this would be that in 2013, my raza finally started to realize that we had met a point of no return. Either we acted or we were literally being enslaved. A statewide hunger strike work stoppage was declared. We agreed to reach out to our black and others and white associates and ask if they would like to join. But the movement was clear. But for the movement, it was clear that we would go with or without anyone, as we have the numbers. Just like out here, the majority of the workforce right now is all Raza, uh, and brothers, minorities, and few whites. So it would have to be an agreement between our Raza to make the first move, and everyone else I'm sure would follow. The first thing I did was agree to a specific amount of time for us to gather the necessary food or the like, as that I did not wish to see anyone die, although we did experience some fallen soldiers in other prisons. Out here, we would probably have to be prepared for a power outage, as I believe that would be the government's first scare tactic to scare us off. Also, if I were heading the movement, I would ask that the military not get involved. Although there's not much they can do, they didn't give these orders and they don't need to be pawns. Needless to say, uh, in my situation, the government conceded to just about all our requests. Now, I know things are a little bit more complicated out here, but really they're not. It's basic. Uh, we hold the numbers. We don't work. They need to be fed. They need stuff sold. Uh, excuse me. The money's only good as we decide to use it, and they only have money if we spend money. Uh, what we really just have to do is reach out to each other and explain that our freedom is at stake and worth tightening our belts for. And it's time for our elders to open their mouths and explain that sometimes, we need to struggle, but actively struggle to make things right again. Right now, we're being forced into a situation where we're struggling, but nothing's happening because we're being impassive. We're being passive. We're not making no moves. We're just accepting what they're telling us. And the government and your mayors, your governors, whatever they may have be, they might be telling you stories that they're working on it, or maybe they're saying, "Oh, well, it's above my head." Well, then what are you in that position for if you're not helping me? If you're not actively seeking resolution? It's been long enough now for things to have moved on, and it just seems that they're getting worse. And it seems that every move they're making, they're tightening down just a little bit more, and pretty much putting a knee on our neck until we decide to tap out and tell them, okay, you have it your way. And I don't believe we're ready to do that. So uh, I yeah, I don't believe that these politicians have done anything for us. But the point of this story is that you know we're being forced into a situation and nobody's looking for a way out. But all it takes is for us to stay home and tighten up our belts and put our foots down. And once we do it, everybody else will do it, and we could come and decide how and where and what requests that we need to be met. Because if we don't, it's time for us to stop asking and start demanding. As in reality, we have the power. We're the numbers. We're the workforce. People don't get fed without us, and it might take a little bit longer for it to get uh, up the scale of these other people who make a little bit more money, who are not working but still getting paid, but it'll get to them because they need us to get what they need, and that's how the system works. Uh, and if we don't use that leverage to our advantage, we're just going to end up being enslaved, and there will be no turning back after that. Uh, I'm not trying to be anybody's slave, and I don't want to see my family, my raza, or my fellow brother being enslaved by anyone else. Uh, I've done this before against California, and I believe if I could do it, anybody could do it. Uh, we're all we all live under the same sun. The sun gives us light and it feeds us, and no man can take that away from us. If we get together and unite and come to an agreement, I believe that the same thing that I've done in California and helped done in California and done in California by myself can be done across the states, and there's no question about it. Uh, it takes action to get things done. Sitting at home or just working for the man, it's not panning out to what we thought it was going to be. And I'm just trying to bring light to a dark situation. I hope I can help you out. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Thank you.